Hi, and welcome to B-Movie Euphoria's Reviews from the Pile. Now, when I say pile, I'm referring to this huge pile of VHS tapes that Alex and I scored from a guy's personal video store collection that he was allowing people to come and, rent a movie and then go and watch it and then return it. But he was doing this in his basement, and me and Alex got to go through all the videos because no one's watching them. I don't even think they owned a VCR anymore. So we got to go through them, basically take as many as we want, and pay her. Yeah. But it was very cool and it was very interesting because we have so many tapes here and so many movies that I have not seen that I'm really excited. So this is the very first reviews from the pile. And the first movie we're going to do is the 1980 movie, even though it says 1984 on there, Virus. Yes. So we're all dealing with a real virus right now, COVID, yada yada, and it's awful and really terrible, and it sucks. It did help me, finally. It pushed me to finally quit my job that I hated. It was a terrible place. And I'm really glad I did. And I feel great about that. But the fact that the world is kind of falling apart isn't great. But you know what? This movie lifted my spirits a little bit. So in this movie, it takes place over a course of like 6 years, 1982, 1983, and then 1988. And it has to do with a virus that is slowly overtaking the world called M88. The virus itself, basically, if you're sick, it will attach itself to your sickness and then kill you in like 3 days. Or at least that's what the scientist at the beginning says when he's like, all right, this is very dangerous. Don't let it get out of your hands. It could kill millions of people. And of course, the person carrying this horrible disease, his plane crashes and it, goes into the air and people start dying at an incredible rate. So this movie was produced by Haruki Kadakawa, who had a shitload of money because his family owned like this publishing, just huge publishing franchise, just tons of money. So he was like, okay, I'm done making movies in Japan. I want to make some movies that are going to travel across the ocean. And so he got Kinji Fukasaku, sorry, uh, to direct this movie. And when I looked into this movie, I was like, holy shit, it's Kinji Fukasaku who directed Battle Royale. Battle Royale, one of the greatest movies of all time. Like, you just can't compare to this movie. Teenagers killing each other for survival, just amazing. Forget the Hunger Games, forget Running Man or whatever. Go and see Battle Royale. It's fucking amazing. And so when I found out that Kinji was making this movie, I was like, holy shit, this movie could be awesome. And then the cast is super huge. We have George Kennedy, Sonny Chiba is in this, Olivia de Hussey, or in the credits, she's just Olivia Hussey, Edward James Olmos, Chuck Connors, Robert Vaughn, Henry Silva, and Glenn Ford, the name that's actually on this video cassette. Glenn Ford plays the president, and he's pretty good in this movie. It's kind of surprising because in a movie that came out not too long before this, The Visitor, which I really love and you should definitely check out, it has a space Jesus in it. Anyway, in that movie, Glenn Ford has a very small part as a doctor, and apparently he was just like drunk on the set, and you can like hear it in the dialogue and everything. In this movie, he's clearly like giving it his all. because he plays a president during a huge viral outbreak, and people are dying left and right, and he has to make these huge decisions. And this general Henry Silva, is just stopping him at every, like, hey, I want to do this. No, no, we can't do that because then we might be compromised to the Russians or something. And so, oh, and here's another parallel between this movie and the reality. Everybody is calling this virus the Italian flu because they say that it originated in Italy, and so everybody just, offhandedly refers to it as the Italian flu, basically placing blame on the Italians for causing basically what Trump is doing, calling it the Chinese virus. Anyway, so this is in 1982 when this is all happening, and it is spreading very fast, and they're trying their best to contain it. They don't really show a lot of like people getting sick and everything. It's mostly all contained, at least in the first act. It's all contained in like the White House and in generals bickering and basically white guys yelling at each other about what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And then it slowly progresses, and then we see these generals and people in charge getting sick and dying. We see like riots in the streets. We see just bodies everywhere. We see the situation getting more and more intense until finally we have Glenn Ford, the president, in his Oval Office, dying, and then one of his political opponents, but also his friend, is in there and dies before him. And it's this incredibly like, holy fuck, this is sad scene, because he's talking to him after he's died, and he's like, you were my opponent in almost everything, but I loved you as a friend. And so I was like, oh, wow, I did not see this coming in this movie. And so by, I think, 1983, a year has passed. Basically, everyone is dead. Everyone's dead. Except for 855 men and 8 women. Wow. And these 855 men and 8 women are all kind of contained in this supposedly secret Arctic base. And so these people who have been saved, there are also some generals that are trying to figure out what we should do. How do we move forward? And then we meet Dr. Yahizumi, who is basically traveling with his or another doctor, and they are in the Arctic trying to find life, trying to find anything, trying to figure stuff out, and they find Olivia Hussey in a research center, and she's basically near death. And then that begins the kind of romance between Yakizumi and Olivia Hussey, because they kind of gravitate toward each other, and then they end up going to the secret base. And then we learn more and more throughout. As things get worse, they're trying to figure out how to do something, and then things get really fucked up when one of the 8 women that have survived get raped. And they start talking about it very like, oh god, it was so gross, that scene. So it's a bunch of generals talking about, well, we have 855 men and we only have 8 women. So I understand how you feel. He's like talking to the women that have come forward, saying like, hey, this woman was assaulted. We need to do something about it. And so these generals are saying to her, well, there's only 8 women. So we need to put away the thought of a one man, one woman relationship. And we have to realize that every man is going to have to, have sex if we're gonna. And I was just like, oh my God, please let this stop. Please let the generals stop explaining to the women how they're going to have to like get impregnated basically for the rest of their lives so they can keep the population going. It's really fucked. Anyway, so they find out through intelligence, I don't know where, but they find out that um, there's going to be a huge earthquake. And this earthquake is going to affect the nuclear missiles in Washington and make them shoot over to Russia. Bad news, everybody, because the Russian general's there in the, survivors too. He's like, guys, if a missile goes over there, we have a Dr. Strangelove situation where missiles are coming over here. Missiles are going, and it's just going to be the fucking doomsday, basically. And so, Dr. Yakizumi and Bo Svensson, who, if you don't know Bo Svensson, he was in the original Inglourious Bastards. He was in Walking Tall 2. He's just a good kind of B-movie actor. He was in Snow Beast. Very good. He's really fun. So he's basically like, well, I'm going to Washington then, and I'm going to deactivate the missiles so that, when the earthquake happens, if it does happen, we won't all die in a huge raging inferno. So there's this incredible scene where Yakizumi is like, well, I want to go. If you're going to go, I want to go. And they're like picking names out of a hat of who will go. And Bo's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going. I'm going to do this. I am Mr. Macho. Yakizumi's like, I want to go. Can I please go? And Bo Svensson's like, nah, you're clearly, you're weak. You're tiny. Do you know anything about explosive? He's like, yeah, I do. He's like, no, I'm sorry. I can't. Total like loner dude. Anyway, Bo starts walking through the snow, and Yakizumi's like, just basically runs up behind him and punches him in the back. I'm guessing to show him, like, I'm strong. Bo lays him out again and again. The guy comes back, and he's like, no, I wanted to help. And he punches him again and lays him out. And it's like that scene in They Live, except it's in the snow, and there's a virus going on. Anyway, it's great. It lasts for a really long time. And so before, eventually, Bo Svensson's like, okay, you can go. Obviously, you got chutzpah, so you can go. Eventually, they decide they're going to go, but before they go, there's a Christmas party, and Olivia's like, to Yakizumi, is like, I'm really worried about you. I hope you come back. And then a sailor comes up and gives Olivia Hussey this note saying, like, I think we have an appointment. Meaning it's her time to fuck this sailor, because now they've created this appointment system where there are certain times when it's gross. It's really, really gross. And I really hope I hope this situation it never happens in the real world. Anyway, so they go on a trek, Bo Svensson and Yakizumi, to Washington to stop the missiles from going off before the earthquake hits. Of course, you can never tell exactly when an earthquake hits, and so they're riding the submarine there. They finally get there, and these shots are really incredible because you see Washington DC completely devastated, skeletons everywhere, just dead bodies everywhere. They finally get into the busted up White House, and immediately the earthquake starts. So it's just like, get in there. And so Bo Svensson, Yakizumi go in there, and they're trying their best. They're blowing each door to get to that war room so they can stop these fucking missiles, so we don't have a giant, nuclear holocaust on our hands on top of the virus that already killed pretty much everybody. So they're right there. They're right at that last door, and then the White House basically kind of collapses on them. Bo's killed by a huge pipe through his chest. Sorry, spoilers. But Yakizumi makes it to the war room, but right then, I'm not going to say anymore. Because this movie was, I'm not going to say thoroughly enjoyable, because there were long stretches of just padding and just showing the world kind of decimated, and then this and that, and it's just, it was a little longer than it needed to be, but there are so many good scenes in this, and it is so it's such a great movie to watch right now, because it's not necessarily depressing. The ending is a little depressing, but there's still some hope of life in the end. And there's just a beautiful line at the end where he says, "Life is beautiful." And what a great thing to end on. And not only that, when the credits start to roll, at first we're just shown like pictures of like Arctic ice and huge icebergs and everything. And then for the last like 5 minutes of the credits, we're just watching penguins like fuck around, like jump into the water, and then they're just, walking around, and like, what's all this penguin footage? Why would you put this? Doesn't matter. It was fun. So it was scary, it was disturbing, and it was a lot of fun. I would say so I definitely recommend Virus, not from 1984, 1980. If you can find it anywhere, it might be on YouTube, because it bombed in the States. It never made any money, so they sent it straight to paid television, which is where this guy recorded it. Anyway, so I'm going to do a quick review of what else is on the tape. So it's about the first 20 minutes or so of a movie called Shockwaves, which I haven't seen, and I didn't want to watch just a little snippet of a movie, so I kind of turned it off after they explained that basically this movie is about Nazi zombies, which sounds pretty cool. But I think Red Snow did a little bit better. Anyway, so go out and watch Virus if you can. Go out and wear a mask wherever you can, so we all don't get the virus. And have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, stay happy. Love you.